Hello, Topher here. So it's Monday morning, June 16th, and I wanted to briefly talk about the whole Israel-Iran conflict that's been happening. Now, this is a developing situation, and I want to get this video out in a timely manner, so don't expect a lot of fancy edits. Besides, the more explosions I show, the more likely YouTube will demonetize the video. But let's briefly talk about what happened, why it happened, the U.S. involvement or lack of involvement, what the likely results of all this are going to be. It's a hot morning, but I have my iced coffee. Let's go. So in the very early morning hours of June 13th, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion. And I'm sure you've heard about the missile strikes, but the first phase of the operation was actually really incredible. You see, the first thing that Israel did is they had drones in place and special forces already in Iran. And these special forces had both drones and anti-tank missiles. They used these forces already in Iran to attack air defense. Israel started Operation Rising Lion very much in the same way that Ukraine did Operation Spiderweb a few weeks ago, where they had drones that were hidden in vehicles and released them and used these to attack air defense systems and radars. This basically destroyed whatever air defense systems that Iran had left. Well, missile-based systems, they still have some anti-aircraft guns, but they're very dated. They're so old and their range isn't far enough to actually affect any Israeli jets. So Iran's air defense was first destroyed using drones operated by special forces already in Iran. You see, there's a lot of people in Iran who actually hate the current regime. They hate their government. Many people in Iran are not interested in living under an authoritarian theocracy of religious extremists, authoritarian government. And a lot of the smaller ethnic groups in Iran that really hate their government, they live on the borders. So Israel probably used this to help smuggle these weapons and special forces into Iran. After the air defense was neutralized, Israel launched fighter jets. And these jets took out a lot of nuclear facilities, all these facilities that are part of Iran's nuclear program. And they also attacked military installations, jets, airfields. But I think most importantly in this first strike, they attacked a lot of leadership. Apparently, over 20 senior leaders in Iran's military died that night, as well as many prominent Iranian nuclear scientists. And of course, Iran responded with ballistic missile and drone attacks of their own against Israel. But Iran's air force and air defense is basically destroyed. It's gone. So Israel has free rein to attack all sorts of targets. And they've continued to attack things like oil refineries, missile depots, drone factories, and more attacks on leadership. Now, I expect in the coming days, probably the coming weeks, we're going to see even further attacks, just a routine set of Israeli attacks. It's just not going to, like, checking off a list. I expect them to attack ports, more oil refineries, and probably as many missile launchers as they can find. So as of this morning, Iran has launched somewhere between 200 and 300 missiles back at Israel. Missiles and drones. And it took them about 3 days to do this. Consider that last year they had a huge attack against Israel where they launched about 200 missiles and drones in a single night. So it's pretty clear that Iran's capabilities of attacking Israel are diminishing. But Israel's Iron Dome, with its interceptors, it doesn't have infinite ammo. So their capacity to intercept all these ballistic missiles and drones, it's diminishing as well. In this regard, there's somewhat of a war of attrition here between Iranian missiles and Israeli interceptors. Now, why? Why is this happening? Well, the big reason that they're claiming is to make sure that Iran never develops a nuclear weapon. But the big reason beyond that is that Iran is the biggest supporter of all these terrorist groups that continuously target Israel. This includes Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and lots of other smaller ones. Iran provides money, provides weapons, provides training, intelligence, and Israel's decided that it's had enough, wants to address the problem at its source. Which leads me to what I think is an interesting thing that I haven't heard many people talk about it at all, and that is the lack of response from these terrorist groups. Hezbollah hasn't done anything. Hamas hasn't done anything. The Houthis haven't really done anything. They actually launched one missile at Israel, but it landed in the West Bank, a Palestinian-controlled region, and killed some Palestinians. Oops, not a good look to be killing the people that you claim to be fighting for. But all these terrorist groups that are basically proxies for Iran, they've been largely very silent, very quiet. It's a good indicator that the people that they got their instructions from in Iran probably dead. How's the U.S. involved in all this? U.S. does have fighter jets in the region, has an aircraft carrier group in the region, and they have helped Israel shoot down some of these missiles that were launched at them. But the U.S. has not attacked Iran so far. Israel really wants the U.S. to be involved because the U.S. is the only one with the weapon system, the bunker buster, that can reach the Iranian nuclear facilities that are very, very deep underground. Trump has stated again and again that he's not interested in attacking Iran. He wants to cut a deal. Speaking of negotiating, the U.S. and Iran were in negotiations, and Trump actually gave Iran a 60-day deadline. He said it a few times. Negotiations started on April 12th. 60 days ended. On the 61st day, that's when Israel attacked. So in my opinion, I think that Israel and the U.S. were closely talking, sharing intelligence, and Israel was more than ready to attack sooner. They held back on that 60-day notice that Trump gave, basically as a courtesy to the U.S. But in all fairness, Trump did warn Iran that you need to cut a deal within 60 days or face serious consequences, and that's exactly what happened. So what are some of the likely outcomes here? Well, the U.S. really wants negotiations to take place. Trump wants to be seen as a peacekeeper, a peacemaker. Now, Israel's stated goal is to crush Iran's efforts to develop nuclear weapons, but I think their true goal here is regime change. Like I mentioned, Iran's government is not exactly popular even within Iran. Iran's military is basically split into two groups, the Revolutionary Guard, which is loyal to the theocracy, and then the regular army. Israel has been pretty careful not to attack the regular army. Almost all of their targets, all the leadership that's been killed is in the Revolutionary Guard. So Israel is trying to create a power vacuum so that the Iranian people can rise up and overthrow their current government. And that may work. That is a possible outcome. Now, Iran's options are very limited. A lot of their leadership has gone into hiding, basically in survival mode. Their ability to attack Israel is going to diminish daily. Iran might try and coordinate an attack against Israel using their terrorist proxies, right? Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis. But in the past year, Israel and the U.S. have severely damaged these groups. Iran also has the option to attack U.S. bases and embassies and Navy ships in the region, or attack U.S. allies like Saudi Arabia. They've done this in the past. This would be a massive mistake. That would absolutely get the U.S. involved. So Iran's leadership, their best case scenario really is to try and strike a deal with the U.S. as soon as possible and give up on any aspirations of being a nuclear-armed power. A significant message that Iran's true goal is regime change is in the name, Operation Rising Lion. You see the symbol on the flag of Iran's old regime before the revolution, before the Islamic extremists took over, it was a lion. I think the big lesson that Taiwan can take out of all this is just how important it is to make sure that air defense capabilities are well defended, are well guarded. I talked about this earlier in my video about Ukraine's Operation Spiderweb, but it just goes to show that fifth column elements, spies, special forces that have infiltrated a country can use drones to severely damage air defense systems. So I think that Taiwan and the U.S. need to have drone defense on strategic locations as soon as possible. I really like the ideas of using drones that are designed to hunt other drones. I also like direct energy weapons, lasers, and a lot of effort needs to be put into counterintelligence, trying to find any spies that might already be in the country. Not might, are. They're definitely in Taiwan and the US. Iran's biggest export is oil, and their biggest customer is China. The longer this conflict goes on, the more oil refineries and ports are going to be attacked. The less oil China is going to receive, the higher oil and gas prices in China are going to become. So I think China is going to start to pressure Iran to go to the negotiating table as well. So I think the most likely outcome here is that Iran enters negotiations with the US to try and stop all of this, that they just give up on the nuclear program for now in order to reach peace. Although personally, I think the best outcome would be regime change. I think the Iranian people deserve to live under a better government, but we'll have to see how it all plays out. I'm really interested in your thoughts, so please leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. And hey, if you like the video, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe. Thanks a lot for watching, and a giant thank you to all of my channel members. I really appreciate all of your support. Thank you. See ya.